Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so we got brand new chapter of Black Clover out, chapter 180. And I gotta admit something, in my first read of this chapter, which was like early this morning, about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, read the chapter, and then went back to sleep. I, uh, I was a little bit disappointed by how the chapter went. And I don't mean by like the chapter was bad or anything. The chapter actually was really good, especially when it comes to like the fight sequences. But when it came to my expectations for what the chapter would do, when I first read through it, I was disappointed by not, by the fact that the chapter didn't reach those expectations. Because, all right, we just got through like a few chapters of Noelle basically proving that she can actually defeat an opponent by herself, an extremely powerful opponent that even her brother couldn't defeat by herself or by himself. She was able to basically take down one single handedly. So I figured, all right, we just got through that with Noelle. So now we're focusing on Finn Raw, and when it comes to Langris, that's even more of an important fight for him because this is his younger brother, someone who he's been compared to for his entire life. So, maybe we're actually going to get to see the two of them, fight it out and, Finn Raw step up. Not that he has been stepping up for a while now. He's been actually, pulling his weight for a while now. But basically have him step up and defeat Langris himself. But instead, the way the chapter basically works is the fact that Finn Raw is still playing the supportive role that he's been playing throughout the entire series. Instead of, being the one to actually fight Langris one-on-one, he's basically just supporting Yami and Jack as they take out Langris or take on Langris. So this chapter early this morning when I was reading it had me thinking, all right, well, this kind of defeats the whole purpose because these chapters where we're focusing on each member of the Black Wolves, I assumed was going to be basically character development for them, where we see them push past where they used to be. Like with Noelle, she basically has gone on to actually being a full-on fighter now, not just like a kind of supportive fighter like she used to be, where she get one good attack and then that'll be it. But when we're looking at Finn Raw versus Langris, the rematch that we've all been waiting for a while now, especially ever since Langris was revealed to be an elf, this rematch really isn't doing the justice of furthering Finn Raw's character along because everything he's doing in this chapter we've already seen him do before. We've already seen him basically take up the role of not being the scared person he used to be and actually be willing to help out in a fight without any question. We saw hints of it during the whole Water Temple arc. And then when we actually got to the Royal Knights tournament, we actually saw him fully develop into a character who, while he's not, he's not on the front lines fighting, he is on the front lines supporting the fight. So it's not really showing anything new when it comes to his character. But then during my second reading of the chapter, I kind of realized that we're actually following the same sequence of events that happened with Noelle a few chapters ago. So basically the sequence of events is basically, you got an opponent, you got an elf who shows up and starts decimating people. Like with Noelle and with Noelle's fight, it basically was Gwen. She showed up. She took out everyone inside the Silver Castle. She started taking out Solid and Nebra. And then just as she was about to kill them, Noelle and Nozel showed up and saved them. Then we got a chapter where Noelle and Nozel teamed up to fight against Gwen. And then after Nozel was defeated, after they supposedly took out Gwen, Nozel gets defeated by a sneak attack. And then Noelle had to step up to the plate and fight by herself. And when you look at this chapter and when you look at the last chapter along with it, you can see that we're actually still following the same sequence of events. We had Langris show up and he's attacking the Emperor, he's attacking his father, he's attacking his mother, he's attacking Finesse. And then and just as he's about to kill all of them, we get Finn Raw, Jack, and Yami who show up and actually save the day. And then in this chapter, we get the three of them teaming up to take on Langris. Now they don't actually defeat him like what happened with Nozel and Noelle, where they actually defeated Gwen in the second chapter, and then she came back with a power-up and defeated Nozel, leaving Noelle to be the only one left fighting. But you get what I mean, like we're following the same sequence of events over that we did in the last few chapters with Noelle. So basically I'm guessing that in the next chapter, we actually will see Jack, Yami, and Finn Raw actually defeat Langris, only for Langris to get back up and actually knock out Jack and Yami, obviously not kill them, even though it's kind of hard to imagine how his magic could do anything but kill them. But anyway, he would knock them out. And then either in the second half of that chapter or even the chapter after that, we'll get Finn Raw stepping up to being the only one left fighting against Langris, and him learning a brand new spell that actually lets him fight on par and defeat Langris himself. So yeah, once I realized that's actually what was going on, I could actually just sit back and actually enjoy the chapter for what it was, which was basically just like a giant action sequence between Yami, Jack, and Finn Raw facing off against Langris. Which, by the way, it was actually funny in the very beginning of the chapter when they were like, alright, we need y'all to get the fuck out of here so we can actually fight. We see Finn Raw's dad basically saying, there's no way you guys are going to fight against this. Like, Finn Raw, you are basically a carrier for the Black Wolves. There's no way you're going to be able to fight against this guy. And Finn Raw knows this. Finn Raw is not unaware of the fact that he's completely outmatched when it comes to him fighting off against Langris. Especially now that Langris is actually even more powered up by being an elf. So it's like, listen, it doesn't matter. I'm still his older brother. He's still my younger brother. I still had to be the one to at least help take him down. So while I'm doing this, you guys get the fuck out of here because we can't fight with you on the field. And then you get a funny moment of Yami basically showing up behind Finral's dad and just kicking him through a portal. Like literally just tosses him through a portal. Then sends his mom through. And then we get to kind of this like cute moment with Finesse where she basically goes up to Finral right before she leaves and tell him, hey, don't die. And the second I read that, I was like, all right, if this wasn't a main title Shonen Jump manga, if this was literally any other series outside of Shonen Jump, this will be a red flag. Like, this will be a death flag right here. This will be basically her sentencing Finral to die. And when you read the end of the chapter, you start thinking to yourself, damn, based off what happens at the very end, Finral might actually not make it out of this alive. But yeah, still, if this was any other manga, when I was reading this part, I was like, all right, Finesse, stop putting death flags up there, my boy. All right, back off a little bit. And you know what? It's even funnier how they actually get the Emperor out there because he is going to go through one of the portals. Which, by the way, they completely forgot about. Like Finral completely forgot about the Emperor. Yami, Jack, they all forgot about the Emperor until he actually spoke up. Was like, "Hey, you guys going to get me the fuck out of here too?" They actually completely forgot about him. And as soon as he speaks up, Finral puts up a portal for him to walk through. Langris obviously gets rid of it, so he's like, no. I let the other ones escape because whatever. But I'm going to kill. You're the Emperor. I'm going to kill you. So basically, Jack starts up, like, when they're basically like, all right, how are we going to get the Emperor out of here? Jack comes up and just unleashes this fury of attacks, like, literally just goes at Langris. And at first you're thinking, all right, the way the attack ends, they actually end up cutting around the Emperor, so they create a hole for him to escape through. So when I saw that part, I was like, all right, wow, I did not expect something like that from Jack. He actually did a clever thing of, like, he actually pretended to attack Langris in order to get the Emperor to safety. I did not expect Battle Hungry Jack to actually do something like that. Then you read the next page, and it's basically, nah, Jack had no idea he was doing this. He was honestly trying to kill Langris, and Langris just dodged all his attacks, and just happened to luckily go around the Emperor in a way that let him escape. And you know what? I usually don't really like Jack the Ripper's character, but in this moment right here, he actually made me a bit of a fan. But anyway, once the field is completely cleared of, the civilians or the people they had to protect, it's basically just an all-out brawl between Langris versus Finral, Yami, and Jack. And it pretty much comes down to Finral trying his best to block the attacks, but realizing he can't really do much. And then Yami and Jack basically just having to fight against Langris, trying to find a way to basically break through his defense, which they actually end up managing to do because of the fact that Jack is able to basically, anything he cuts with his blades, he's able to absorb the property so that he can actually fight against it. If it's something like he can't cut through, like we saw when he was first introduced during this arc, when he was fighting off against that guy who had unbreakable armor, he was able to absorb the properties of that armor so he could break through it. He does the same thing in this chapter with Langris' spatial magic. He actually absorbs the properties of his spatial magic so he can cut through Langris' attacks. And then Yami uses his dark dimensional slash, and then the two of them at the same time actually manage to break through Langris' defenses. But even though they're actually able to break through Langris' defenses, their attacks actually end up landing just short of hitting him. So literally right after they attack, Langris goes on the counterattack and tries to kill them. Luckily, Finral's able to block the attacks, and then Langris turns his attacks on him. Now, Finral realizes that he has a choice right now. He can either try to block the attacks and knowingly he's not going to be able to block all of them, so he's going to take damage no matter what. Or he could take this advantage of where Langris is focused on him and get Jack and Yami in close so they can actually attack him. And that's actually what he does. Finral actually willingly takes the attacks of Langris, actually does a lot of damage to himself in order to get Yami and Jack in close at the very end of the chapter where they're in striking distance of Langris. Now, Langris isn't worried about this. He actually is kind of cocky at the very end of the chapter. He's like, yeah, sure, you were able to teleport your, allies to me, but that doesn't mean they're going to be able to land an attack on me, and that's pretty much where it ends. But still, the fact that Finral was able to he actually made the decision to take on damage to himself in order to, give them the advantage in the fight. And that's something, if you look at Finral's character in the beginning of the series, even when they were fighting against Veto, you would not expect him to actually make that conscious decision by himself. And it just kind of goes to show that Finral's actually developed a lot throughout the series. And we actually see that development a little bit in this chapter because during the fight, when they're all three of them are taking on Langris, we see Finral basically struggling to keep up with Langris. Because there's a moment where Yami actually goes out to attack Langris, and Langris in a split second actually counters that attack and actually throws an attack that actually would kill Yami in that instant. And in that moment, in literally that moment right before the attack hits Yami, Finral is actually able to react fast enough in order to block the attack. And that moment just goes to show that Finral actually is evolving during the fight. I mean, he may not be able to block all Languish's attacks, he might not be fast enough to block every single one, but he is getting fast enough to the point where he can actually block the crucial ones. Now, it might not block every attack, but any attack that actually would kill somebody, he's getting fast enough to actually defend against that. We also get to see more of Yami basically stepping up to be more of a leader and more of a tactical thinker when he's in a fight. Because during the fight, he realizes early on, alright, until we get past his defenses, we're not going to win this fight. And then the longer this fight drags out, the more of a disadvantage we have. So we got to find a way to get in there close and basically end it in one strike. And that's when he comes up with the idea of Jack using his ability to absorb other magical properties. I mean, he doesn't actually articulate this to Jack. Jack actually just, accidentally comes upon this idea himself as well. But basically, he thinks, alright, the second Jack's able to use his ability to absorb other magical attributes to break through Languish's defenses, I'm going to use my Dimensional Slash at that same moment so we can both break through both sides of the defenses and actually give us the opportunity to attack him. And the reason why I mentioned the fact that we actually get to see Yami actually think more strategically and actually step up more as a leader in fights is because of the fact that I see a lot online people arguing about who should be the next Magic Emperor. And I honestly think this arc is, when it comes to Yami, I think this arc is basically just setting up the fact that, yeah, he's gonna be the one to at least get offered the role. He's actually gonna be the one to, if not take it up, he'll at least be offered the role by the Magic Emperor, by the actual Emperor, or by someone, whoever decides who the next Magic Emperor will be. But that's it for the chapter, guys, and that's it for the review. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please drop me a like and subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.